Welcome to 24 Holiday Tips for Savvy Homeowners, brought to you by HomeTipsforWomen.com. Join us each day as Tina and her guests bring you a holiday tip to fill your home with more joy and less stress. And now, here's your host, Tina Gleisner.
Welcome, everyone, to today's holiday tip, because we're all way too busy during this wonderful time of year trying to do too much. So I thought, why not offer some short 12-minute or less tips on how to save time, save money, and enjoy the holidays more? Because that's what it's all about. It's about enjoying life and creating memories with the ones we love. Over the years, I've actually learned that planning out your holidays can make a really big difference, especially if you remember the 4 Ds. The first one is delegate things that other people can do better than you. You'll enjoy things that you do together with friends more than doing them on your own. Some things, maybe it's just time to drop them off your to-do list during the holidays. And the most important one for women is don't forget that you have the right to delight yourself and spend some quality time with friends, family, loved ones during the holiday season, not just rushing around and making everybody else happy. And with that, I've invited Diane Kennedy to share some tips on budgeting and baking for the holidays, because that's combining her business and what she loves to do during the holiday season. So thank you so much, Diane, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Tina. I think this is a great subject. I love that, budgeting and baking, because you can kind of do both of them at the same time. You know, keep watch on your budget while you're baking things.
Well, even I love the idea of baking, especially if you're doing it together, because then you're spending that quality time and you're not spending a whole lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I realize I think you've got some really great stories. So why don't you share with people, what's your favorite holiday activity?
I love the idea, and you mentioned this as well. It's just making memories. And I'm going to kind of segue for a second and tell you the story that you know of how we met our son. And what had happened is my husband and I had a business. This has been a number of years ago, about 12 years ago, and we had donated a lot to charity that we'd let other people pick out. And then we'd heard this story of what this orphanage down in Mexico had done with the amount that we'd given without even knowing who they were. So about 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my husband and I went down with a film crew, and we just filmed what had happened with the orphanage. What had happened is they'd lost their property in a land lease dispute, and everybody had to be out by the end of Christmas. And so the money showed up just in time for them to start construction on some of their own buildings. Well, while we were down there, we were so taken with the organization, and especially one boy named David, that we went on to adopt David, and he became part of our family. But that first Thanksgiving that we all had together down there at the orphanage just really sticks in my mind. The man who ran it had been a baker, and he came from a long line of bakers. So one of the things he taught all the kids was how to bake. And so that was part of this tradition that, like 3 days before the holiday celebration, everybody got together and they all baked things. Kids were out there making cute little funny cookies and things like that. And I just took that with me, that we now do that every holiday that we're getting together. We all bake together. It's a memory, and we remember the story of like when we left the rolls to rise and the dog jumped on the counter and left footprints through all the rolls. But those are the stories that just make it. And by the way, we actually had more than one dog, and we took them and tried to figure out which paw print it was so we could figure out which dog did it. And we
Oh my gosh.
But those are the stories that we remember. And for me, that's what a lot of the holiday is all about, is making memories that years from now will tell the story of the rolls when Daisy jumped on the counter and walked through them as they were rising, or the time that we made a bread that just turned out perfectly and everybody loved it. So those are the things that, for me, make the holidays. And then because I'm a CPA, I love it because they're also not so expensive. You could go drive yourself crazy shopping for things and doing all this running around, and you're exhausted and you're stressed and maybe upset and your credit cards are at the limit. And is that the kind of memory that you want? Maybe not.
Right. So as a CPA, what are some tips that you can share with our listeners today?
I've got to say the first one is, and it's the first word in the talk today, but it's budgeting. And although it's right now, we're just getting ready for the holidays, but really budgeting for holidays, I think it's better if you can start that early. Take a certain amount every month and just put it away. And it could be for emergency fund. It could be for when you're buying gifts. But there's something set aside so it's not a lot of stress. If you're using your credit cards, just be mindful of what you're charging and have a plan for how you're going to pay those off. I mean, if you've ever looked at the interest rates on credit cards, it's absolutely astounding. If you pay the minimum amount, it can take you over 7 years to pay off a credit card. So budgeting ahead of time, or if you can't, have a good plan for how you're going to take care of the credit cards. And then I've got to throw this in that as you're thinking about what are gifts to do, sometimes the best gifts you can give are ones from your heart. One year, a friend of mine made spaghetti sauce and then canned it. And I don't remember, I got 2 or 3 jars of that. And right after the holidays is my very busiest time as a CPA. That's when we're doing tax returns and we're working 1 million hours a day. And I can't tell you what a wonderful gift that was on some cold February day when I was exhausted to open up this homemade spaghetti sauce and have a quick dinner. I mean, those are the kinds of gifts that really last, and people remember those. So if you're baking, if you're making something like this that you can or freeze, those are much less expensive gifts, but I think much more meaningful and help make memories.
Right. And for you who loves cooking, you also have the opportunity to do that baking or cooking with friends, so that's more memories.
Exactly.
And you don't have to go out to the store.
Yeah, exactly. And, if you've got kids at home, that's something we always did, especially with our son who kind of had this beginning in baking. But that to this day is something he loves to do because he used to cook with us. And I think it's great to have, he's now an adult, but I think it's great that he's a cook. He doesn't always have to rely on somebody else to do the cooking.
That's true. Right. I always used to like to make the banana breads in those little tins, so that they're so easy to wrap up and put a nice bow on. I used to make those as gifts for the teachers and the neighbors and things like that.
Yeah, it's so thoughtful because, you think about that gift like that, people are running around and they don't know what they're going to do for dinner or what's to eat. And, they're just exhausted. And to get some nice little treat like that, that's great.
Right. Can we circle back around to the budget? Because I think even if, people save money, and they know how much they've got saved up, say, when December 1st rolls around or before Cyber Monday,
right.
Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Any tips that you have about how do you kind of keep that control and don't go over your budget in December?
I think the biggest part is just keeping track of what you're doing. Sometimes it's easy as you're running around, look how much money I saved, and you forget about how much money you just spent. So starting with a list, and maybe you can't find this and you substitute that, but keep track of it. One thing I like to do is at the end of every day, if I'm shopping multiple days, I look at what have I done, what have I crossed off on my list, and how much did I think it was going to cost me and how much did it cost me. Keeping that that kind of in the front of your mind, and then having some accountability on it, I think helps. The other thing is, don't drive yourself crazy. If you do go over the budget, just make sure that you've made a commitment that we're going to get these credit cards paid off, and that then makes it less stress for you too. I mean, the last thing you need is during the holiday times, you've got company coming or you're going somewhere and you're trying to decorate the house and take care of the kids, and there's just so many things going on. You don't want to add a money pressure on top of that.
Right.
That's one of those memories you don't want to have. That was the year Mom went crazy,
Yeah, that's so true. That I really like, keeping track, write down what you've spent, and then, have a plan to pay it off.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is I've got more and more of my clients use their smartphone to take pictures of their receipts. Now, there's a
that's wonderful.
Well,
write it down.
And you can't find it, and you don't know what happened. You've got a great record, and you've got your smartphone with you, so it's just an easy way to do that.
You're so right. And, I've heard that but I haven't learned how to do it yet because I think it probably takes a little practice so that you automatically remember to do that.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, my husband and I were out shopping just yesterday, and one of the things we did is when we got back into the car, of course, it's not 0 degrees where we are, so it's like you can sit in the car, and we pulled out the receipts right away and took pictures of them before we even drove off. So we had a record of what happened.
So you're proof that it is a habit that you can develop. It really does work.
Yeah.
Okay, and so just to wrap up here, what for you is the most important thing that you want to make sure happens over the holidays?
Well, I think that I want to create memories that are memorable, that are good, because either way, when you've got kids or grandkids or other family, you are creating memories, and it's going to be the kind of meal or Christmas or Thanksgiving where everybody gets together and nobody wants to be there. That's the one when Aunt Sue gets drunk and falls off her chair or whatever. But you want to create a memory. And for me, I want to create a memory where everybody loves to get together. And, we're all human. We do the best we can. And we forgive each other and we all love each other. And that to me is the memory I want to have.
Right. Well, I really have to thank you, Diane, for taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing these tips. I hope I can learn how to start taking photos of all the receipts. That's wonderful, and I think that's actually something smart to do year-round.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm going to start right away, and I want to invite you to share with people what is your website, so if they want to follow up with you, they can.
You bet. It's USTaxAid, TAXAID.com. And you're going to find various tax tips there for how you can pay less tax, how you can organize your receipts, that type of thing.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much, and I wish you, Diane, and all of our listeners a wonderful holiday. And we're going to be doing this call daily through December 24th. So if you like the tips today, come on back for our tips tomorrow.
I'll definitely be listening. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, and we invite you back tomorrow for another Savvy Holiday Tip. Be sure to grab your free gift at SavvyHolidayTips.com. That's SavvyHolidayTips.com.